Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm going to show you how to do single crochet stitch in rows. So if you've never crocheted before, this is a good place to start. So I'm using a 3mm hook. It should be printed on the hook what size it is. And I'm using double knit yarn. Now on the label of this yarn it tells you to use a 4mm hook, but I find that that creates too many gaps and it's too loose. So I find that a 3mm works well with double knit. You can use any size hook you want as long as it roughly corresponds with the weight of the yarn. So there should be a few different sizes that would go well with each weight of yarn. You'll also need some scissors and a yarn needle to weave in our ends when we're finished. So we're going to start by making a slip knot. So to do this, you take a couple of inches from the end and you hold that between your first and second finger. Then you take a couple more inches and hold that in between your third finger and your thumb. Then with your first finger on your other hand, you pull this section out like that. You turn your finger around and then you put your thumb through that loop. And then you want to grab hold of that short tail and pull it through the loop. And just pull tight. And there you have a slip knot. Then you place your hook through the loop and you pull on that short end to tighten it around the hook. So this is how I hold my crochet hook. It's like a knife hold. So you can also hold it like a pen, just whatever is most comfortable to you. So this is how I hold my yarn. I wrap it around the bottom of my little finger and then I wrap it around my first finger going behind like that, and then I just hold on to those bits loosely with my little finger and the finger next to it. So in order to chain, we need to make this loop. You can pull down on this loop so that you have enough room to pull the chain through, because we don't want it to be too tight because then it makes it difficult to chain. So to chain, we have the hook so that it's pointing away from us, and we wrap the yarn around the hook and then we turn the hook so that it's pointing towards us, and then it just grabs that loop and you pull it through the loop on your hook, and that is one chain. Now I'm going to show you how to undo a chain. So maybe if you chain too many, or for whatever reason maybe you made it too loose or too tight. So you take your finger out, pull up on the hook to take it out and then to loosen your slip knot. And we pull on the working yarn slowly and carefully, and we just pull that out of that loop. And that has undone that first chain that we did, and now we just have our slip knot again. So for this sample piece, we're just going to chain 11. So I'll show you that again. The hook is pointing away from us. We yarn over and we turn the hook so it's pointing towards us, and we pull through the loop on the hook. So that is one chain. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you can see they look like V's. Each V is a stitch and it's a chain for this foundation chain. So we can count them just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So for row 1, we're going to start working in the second chain from the hook. So not this one, but this one. and we're going to work in that side loop there. So we push the hook in, we yarn over, pull through that loop, that first loop. Now we have 2 loops on the hook, then we yarn over and we pull through both of those loops on the hook, and that's our first single crochet. So now you can see that one has lifted that chain and there's a bigger gap in there now, so you can see where the next chain is because that hasn't got that. So we go into the next chain. This is just the side loop, and we yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. So we're going to do this all the way along, just 1 in each chain. And I'm also going to show you how to undo a single crochet stitch if you make a mistake. So it's the same thing as with the chain. Lift up on your hook to take it out and loosen the slip knot. Then we pull on this working yarn and we pull it out of that first loop and then the second loop. And then we pull this loop out of the chain. And you can just pull on that to put it back into shape. And then we pull back up on this loop here, put our hook back in, pull down on the working yarn to tighten it around it again. So I'm just going to continue to the end of the row. It helps to place your finger on this loop here so that you have more control over it. You can make your piece as wide as you want by just chaining more or less, but I'm just making a small sample piece for the moment. Okay, so last chain, you can see the slip knot there, we'll just exactly the same, just go into that side loop. And you can tighten that to just close that gap from the slip knot. And then we can count the V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 stitches. And you can see this is the remaining loops from our foundation chain. These V shapes are the sides of the single crochet stitches. You can count them as well if you want to, but I find it easier just to count the V's on the top. So we put our hook back in and we're going to do row 2 now. So we chain 1, and this doesn't count as a stitch because it's a turning chain, just to get us up to the height of a single crochet. And then we turn the work over and we're looking at the back of the stitches. And if you sort of pull it apart, you can see the spaces in between if you look from the top. So that's our chain 1, we're not working with that. We're going to go into the first single crochet stitch there, and we're going to do our single crochet. And we're just going to do this in every stitch until the end. Okay, so last stitch, there it is. Can be a bit more fiddly, this one, because of that end piece there. So to make it easier, you can find the first loop and then find the back loop and just push them on with your finger and single crochet as normal. And now we've done 2 rows. So you can see that this is the back of the stitches on row 1 facing us, and this is the front of the stitches on row 2. If you turn it over, it will be the opposite. It's front of the stitches and then back of the stitches. And then to work in rows, we will just be alternating because we're turning our work each time. So it's exactly the same for row 3. Chain 1, turn, and work in these spaces. Okay, so I've just done 5 rows here for my sample piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to leave a bit of a tail to weave in. And we're going to cut the yarn. And we're going to fasten off. So to do this, we yarn over and we pull through the loop as if we're going to chain, except then we carry on lifting up our hook to pull that out of the loop, and then we pull tight, and that just creates a knot. And now we need to weave in our ends. So we're going to thread this onto the yarn needle, and we're going to look at the back of the single crochet stitches. And we're going to weave through the back of these stitches. And I'm going to go through about roughly 5 stitches and then pull through. And you can pull the opposite way just to make sure it doesn't pull your work out of shape too much. And then in order to make this secure so that it doesn't come out, I'm going to weave down to the second row, and I'm going to weave through in the opposite direction for about 4 stitches. And then we'll just do it once more down to the next row. We just stretch it out and then cut the yarn close, and then we're going to do the same for the tail from the slip knot. So we just thread that onto our needle and we find the back of the stitches. And we just weave in opposite direction again. Sometimes twice can be enough if you maybe Don't want to do as many. And then cut the yarn close. And there we have it. We have done 5 rows in single crochet and we weaved in our ends. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like to check out my Etsy shop, I design and sell crochet patterns. I'll leave the link in the description below. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thanks.